After an undefeated regular season, the road back to the national championship game for the Stanford Cardinal begins here today. Bank of America Stadium, ACC title game against a familiar foe and the Clemson Tigers. The Tigers were beat not once, not twice, but 3 times last season on the Cardinals' path to the national championship game. The schedule makers gave them some grace this year, and this will be their first matchup against the Cardinal with a chance to crown the top of the ACC. Number 4 Clemson, number 3 Stanford. Let's get into it. The Tigers' offense was led by redshirt senior Michael Van Buren. He threw for 3,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions on a pretty successful season. Their running attack was led by star running back Gideon Davison, who only ran for 660 yards and 8 touchdowns during the regular season. He had 7 20-yard runs. Jaden Scott had 465 yards and 13 touchdowns to lead the running back core. Receiving-wise, David Aguayo had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on 76 receptions. Nick Tolzien also had 1,000 yards on 11 touchdowns and 60 receptions. And RJ Cronk had 948 yards and 14 touchdowns to lead the receiving core. Defensively, they were led by will linebacker Tevin Henderson, who finished with 83 tackles, 7 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions for a really strong campaign for the junior linebacker. Amari Adams led them with 15 TFLs, while they had 2 edge players, Watford and Mayo, with 12 TFLs. Their sack leader was also Amari Adams with 9.5, while Ari Walford helped on the edge with 7.5 sacks. And lastly, their interception leader was the aforementioned Tevin Henderson, while they did have a corner Gibson who finished with 4 interceptions and 2 players, Polian and West, with 3 interceptions. And lastly, they had 1 defensive touchdown going to cornerback Aiden West. So the stage was set. The 2028 ACC title game was away. Dakota Clark boots it deep. Chase Farrell's going to field this one in the end zone and takes the knee as the Clemson Tigers' first drive starts off at the 25-yard line. Both teams had really good, powerful offenses, while Stanford was much more efficient on third down. Early on the Clemson drive, they faced a 2nd and 3 from the 32. Van Buren drops back to pass. He navigates the pocket, but he ends up throwing an interception. It's picked off by Damani Maxson, who comes up huge with a defensive takeaway on the very first drive, setting Stanford up at the 12-yard line. A couple plays later on 2nd and 4 from the 6. Pinto's going to take the snap from empty. Play clock going down to 6. Direct snap to Pinto. He takes it right up the middle for the touchdown. Stanford jumps out to a 7-0 lead after being set up with great field position after the defensive takeaway. Tigers ball again, now down 7. They start their drive on the 25. Van Buren's going to take the snap. He's going to fake the handoff before throwing it to tight end Christian Bentacore. He jukes out a defender, and he's tackled down at the 50-yard line for a big gain. Then, 1st and 10 from the 49. Another play action, another dump off to Bentacore. He's wide open, and he picks up another 13 yards to help jumpstart the drive. However, on 3rd and 5, Stanford sends the blitz. Van Buren goes up top, but TJ Blanco breaks it up from David Aguayo, and Stanford forces a 4th down. Tigers offense stays on the field. They're going to go for the end zone again, and this time the opposite corner, Coy Beasley, breaks it up, and Stanford gets a defensive stop on 4th down. After their defense flexes their muscle, it was time for the offense to do the same. Pinto drops back to pass. He's going to find Jalen Mbakwe wide open on the crossing route. He's tackled out of bounds at the 26-yard line for a huge pickup on the gain. Then, very next play, ball on the 26 now. Inside give to Cameron Hazelwood. He darts right up the middle and picks up chunk yardage to get them down at the 10-yard line. 2 plays later on 2nd and 10, Pinto's going to cap off the drive with a throw to Michael Skinner, and the tight end walks into the end zone. Stanford jumps out to a 14-0 lead and just 2 possessions on offense in the first quarter. Clemson ball again, now find themselves in a 14-point hole. Inside handoff to star running back Jaden Scott, but he's stopped in the backfield by Dylan Stevenson. Then on 3rd and 11, they're going to drop this one off to the other tight end, Logan Brooking, but he's tackled short of the line to gain, forcing the punt on 4th and 2. The Tigers ended up getting the ball back, but they faced off 3rd and 3 from the 26. Van Buren drops back the pass. He tries to throw over the middle, but RJ Crunk can't haul it in, and that's another punt forced by the defense. Stanford drive again, ball on the 48-yard line. Pinto drops back the pass before throwing a quick strike up the seam to Heatson. That's a big chunk pickup to get him inside Tiger territory. Then, first and goal from the 6. Inside give to Chris Davis. He goes into the end zone untouched. Touchdown Cardinal. They jump out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, absolutely blitzing the Clemson Tigers early on in this one. The Tigers were then down 24-0 with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. They set up a quick bubble screen to Kronk. He picks up a block downfield and picks up 25 yards, getting inside Cardinal territory. Few plays later, 1st and 10 from 38. Van Buren's going to fake the handoff, then takes a big sack by Sterling Sanders, and that's going to put them at 2nd and 16. Then, on 2nd and 3 from the 21, Van Buren's going to send a man in motion before throwing it right up the seam to Kronk. He gets down inside the 5-yard line. 2 plays later, 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. Crunk comes in motion. Inside give to star running back Gideon Davison. He finds a hole and walks into the end zone for the touchdown. Tigers finally get on the board with 4 minutes to play in the second quarter. However, the Cardinal were not content going into the break. 4th and inches from the 45. Direct snap to Pinto. He darts right up the middle and he picks up the yardage to gain and more. Then, 50 seconds left in the half. Inside give to Chris Davis. He darts right up the middle and it picks up the first down. Then, under 20 seconds, Pinto drops back the pass. He's going to scramble to the right before darting back inside, and the Heisman Trophy candidate runs into the end zone for the touchdown. Stanford jumps out to a 31-7 lead right before the halftime break, and we're in full control of the ACC title game at this point. 133 passing yards, 79 rushing yards on 7 yards per play, 12 first downs for a very, very efficient Stanford offense in the first half. Going into the second half, 3rd and 10 for Clemson. Van Buren's going to throw it up top, looking for Nick Tolson, but it's broken up by Coy Beasley, and that's another 3rd down stop. Stanford ball again. They get a defender to jump offside. Pinto gets enough time to throw before going up top to Heatson, who holds it in for a big gain, getting them down inside the 10-yard line again. Then, very next play, inside give to the freshman Hazelwood. He powers his way into the end zone for the Cardinal touchdown. It is all Stanford 37-7 at this point in the third quarter. The Tigers couldn't get any closer as they trailed 45-7 in the fourth quarter. Van Buren dropped back the pass, but he ends up throwing an interception to Sam Mattingly. He picks it off, taking it the other way before getting tackled down at the 44-yard line. And that put the stamp on the Stanford beat down on the Tigers. What an impressive defensive effort, and the linebacker seals the deal for the Cardinal, and they are back-to-back ACC champions after a 48-7 shellacking of the Clemson Tigers. What a great end to the regular season as they are crowned ACC champions once again, and now set their eyes on winning a national championship game. This game was not particularly close, with Stanford putting up 395 yards of total offense, but limiting the Tigers to just 284 yards. Passing-wise, the Tigers did come out with the edge with 243, but a lot of those was because they were playing from behind, and Stanford was pretty much trying to kill the clock once they jumped out to a big lead. The defense got 2 interceptions to help power Pinto, who completed 76% of his completion for 221 yards and a touchdown. Cameron Hazelwood led the rushing attack with 64 yards and a touchdown, while Pinto added 2 touchdowns and 44 yards for himself. They also had a touchdown from Davis, who was banged up, and Lorenzo Queen. Jalen Mbakwe led the receiving corps with 82 yards, while Heatson added 78 yards, and Skinner added 48 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, Star corner Coy Beasley finished with 12 tackles to lead the team, while Sam Mattingly had 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, and that 1 interception. So Stanford took home the ACC title game, and here were the conference champions for the rest of the league. Missouri State takes home the Conference USA Championship, Washington State wins the Pac-12, Wyoming wins the Mountain West, UMass knocks off Bowling Green for the MAC title, BYU upsets Baylor for the Big 12 championship game 42-14, Georgia wins the SEC over LSU, Memphis knocks off UCF for the American, and lastly, Penn State, who was the only other undefeated team in the nation, knocks off Ohio State for the Big 10 championship game. So, the stage was set as this was a college football bracket for 2028. Wyoming is the group of 5 representation coming in at the 12th seed. They're going to take on Miami. LSU and Oregon are 2 juggernauts for the first round. BYU will face the Clemson Tigers, who are the ACC runner-ups, and then North Carolina, who also got an at-large bid for the ACC, takes on Ohio State to round out the first-round matchups. And top 4 seeds are Georgia at 12-1, Stanford Cardinal at 13-0, Penn State at 13-0, and finally Notre Dame. After the conference championship week, it was time to crown the award winners, and Josh Pinto indeed takes on the Heisman Trophy for 2028. The redshirt sophomore finished with 3,700 passing yards, 39 touchdowns on 73% completion, and he gets the Stanford Cardinal their first Heisman Trophy winner in 30 plus years. What a round of applause for the star quarterback who led this team to another undefeated regular season. But that was not the only award he won this go round. He also took home the 2028 Walter Camp Award, the Maxwell Award, and lastly, the Davey O'Brien Award. But he was not the only award winner on the team, as tight end Michael Skinner takes home the John Mackey Award after 986 yards and 11 touchdowns on the campaign. And defensively, Big Sterling Sanders took home the Lombardi Trophy with 21 tackles and 11 sacks. And without further ado, our Orange Bowl matchup in the college football quarterfinal will be the Ohio State Buckeyes. So, if you're looking forward to our next college football matchup, please hit that like button and see you guys next time.